Hello and welcome to Turning Point Tactics and the Metawatch video for the 16th of March. In this episode, I'm going to be talking about the UK events recap. Just wanted to talk about this time. Some upcoming UK events that you can get involved with. I'm going to do a bit of a focus on some off-meta winners as we talk about the global stats. Look at an overperforming team, underperforming team, that sort of thing. And then I'm going to, for subscribers, give you some tactical tip for subscriber benefits and then roll into a Patreon priority question. So all that said, let's get straight into it. Hello and welcome to Turning Point Tactics, the competitive Killteam 40k YouTube channel focused on giving you the strategies and tactics to seize initiative every turning point. I'm your host Ryan and I'm here to help give you the tips and tricks that elevate every part of your Killteam experience. So no matter if you're a casual or a competitive player, there should be something here for you. If you're interested in supporting the channel, there's a few ways you can go about doing so. You can join the Patreon, where you get access to members only Discord, Patreon priority questions, early access to content, exclusive content and tournament awards. Or if you find yourself buying Killteam goodies or hobby supplies, you can use one of our affiliate links in the description below or discount codes with Crossfire Games and GG Prints. We're always keen to hear your thoughts and feedback, so don't leave that comment box empty, let us know what you think. Once again, thanks for your support, and with all that said, let's get into it. Okay, so welcome to the Metawatch for the 16th of March. Last time there was like 28 events I had to cover off. This time it's a little bit less. Okay, so unless I've missed it and your event's not been covered, there's only one event in the UK that happened last weekend, which was the Goonhammer Open in Leicester, so right in the sort of middle of the UK, hosted by none other than Can You Roll a Crit, John Reese, as the TO, and the Goonhammer crew doing that there. So it was a 22-player event, so not a huge amount of players, and it was 6 rounds though, so a lot of rounds spread over 2 days. And that was the main sort of the main event that happened this weekend, or the only event that happened this weekend. But there's some really interesting stuff that came out from it, and it was it's probably worth doing a little bit of a deep dive as you have a bit more time to have a look at it. So as I said, 22 players, and a variety of factions being selected. We'll do the top 3 to talk about as per usual, and then I'll pick out a few interesting things that I think is worth talking about. So in third place, it was me. I came third again with Wolf Scouts, so shame on me. I got 2 wins and a draw on day 1, and then 2 wins and a loss on day 2. My draw was against Hernkyn Yaegirs, which I'll talk about in a bit, and my loss was against Celestian Insidiants, which I can also talk about in a bit, because I think it's useful to be able to analyse why these losses happened. So Wolf Scouts are Wolf Scouts, nothing really more to talk about there. I've talked about it quite a lot recently. I will talk about nerfs and stuff later. But in second place, it went to Bart with his Celestian Insidiants. So he went with a single loss and 5 wins, which was really awesome performance to be able to see with Celestian Insidiants, and showing the sort of the true power of the team and how they can be applied. So awesome to see them performing so well. Bart also won best overall at the event, so for having the most amount of sportsman votes, painting, and performance as a combined score, he got a golden ticket for coming second. For doing best overall at the event. So he got his gold ticket for that. In first place was Guy Barton, rocking in the Farstalker Kinband with 5 wins and a single loss. His single loss was to me with Wolf Scouts. Otherwise, he was undefeated and winning all his games by a pretty consistent amount of scores as well, in my opinion. So really doing well with Farstalker Kinband, putting their new buffs immediately to use, which is awesome to be able to see. So because Guy already had a golden ticket, because Bart just won from the best overall, and because I already had a golden ticket, the golden ticket actually rolled down to Rob Smith, who was playing Murderwing, coming in 4th place with 4 wins and 2 losses. I believe that's his first tournament with Murderwing, but he's a very experienced Nemesis Claw player, so he was sort of learning on the fly and getting increasingly good performance as the event went on. So, congratulations to Bart and Guy for your performance there. Awesome to see a variety of teams making up the top spots. And actually, if we look down at the tournament as a whole, because I think this is quite an interesting thing for the meta. I know people generally like to talk about how the meta is in a horrible place and whatever. But when you see that you've got Farstalker Kinband, Celestial Insidiants, Wolf Scouts, Murderwing, Hand of the Archon, Brew Brothers, and Farstalker Kinband, and then Hernkyn Yaegers in the top 8. That's a pretty good variety of teams making up the top 8, and they're all very different, and they're all play very different. I think that's pretty cool to see. So I think this is actually a bit of a good news story. I was the big baddie on Wolf Scouts, chasing the meta for once, or recently more than once. But there's some interesting stuff to pull out from the draw and the loss, which I'll come back to in the tactical tips. If you're a subscriber, hang around, and I'll talk about how I'm going to analyse those defeats in a second. But that's the quick recap of the Goonhammer Open. It was a good event. It was good fun to go to, and of note, it had a combination of Volcus, WTC, and Tomb World Terrain. So all those options were on there. Next up, we're talking about upcoming UK events. So if you want to try and get involved with some events, and you want to try and play some more Killteam, and you want to try and get more going on, then I suggest you check out talkify.com/KT events, which is in the link is in the description below. And then in there you can see you get access to this webpage where a lot of TOs have listed their events, and essentially are links to the events. So you can then find out what's going on, where it's going on, and get involved, which is what it's all about, and that's really cool. So as you can see, you have the Deadwood boys up in Stockport area. They're doing a Thursday tournament. You've got a London event that's sold out in Shoreditch, Rolling Zeros on Saturday 21st of March. The UKTC running in Sheffield, which is a 2-day event. In Poole, there's a 3-day event on the Saturday the 28th. In Saltash, there's the 28th. There's another event, 3-round event. There's another sold out event in Edinburgh on the 28th. So lots of opportunities to play Killteam that weekend. And then into April, you've got the Deadwood are running more events. There's more events in Curtin. There's the upcoming Norwich Killteam events. There's the South Coast Super Major. There's Brighton Battlegrounds. There's loads of stuff going on, right? So there's loads of events that are coming up. And the point is, you can find out about them by going onto this website, clicking through to the link, and it'll then take you through to either the BCP page or the ticket page, wherever's linked there, and you can then hopefully buy tickets and get involved, reach out to TO and all that sort of stuff, which is awesome to see. If you are a TO, and you want to make sure that people can find your event by using this, then all you have to do is use this little button up here, click submit event, it brings up a form, you fill in the details on the form, and then that will be sent off, and it will then appear in this lovely list, and people can then find all the events that are going on in the UK. So nice and easy, great way of being able to find out about what's going on and make sure that you can play more Killteam, which is what it's all about. Cool, so that is upcoming UK events and previous UK events. That was nice and rapid today, which is nice to see. So we can then talk about rankings and global meta a little bit more, and then we'll go into the tactical tip where I talk about how to analyse games and that sort of stuff. So anyway, here's the updated events. This is 3 rounds or more with classified only data, and this is looking at the global win percentages. So this is 200 events. There's 4,917 games played, so the data is now getting much larger, which is cool to see, and we can start to see how the meta is shaking out. And there's some pretty interesting trends, in my opinion, to be able to start seeing what's going on. So, unsurprisingly, taking the top spot is Murderwing. So Murderwing have risen to a 60.8% win percentage, which I think is just slightly higher than it was last time. I think they're about 60.3 or something, but they're basically at 61% win percentage now, and I think their placing rate has gone up slightly as well, not by a huge amount, but just by slightly. So Murderwing doing pretty well, and as their games are growing, I think people are going to be learning how to play them. They are not the most obvious play style because you want to play way more conservatively than you would do normally, using that malicious narcissism to be able to go last and do maximum damage. And I think as people are figuring that out, we'll continue to see their win rates increase, and we'll continue to see their placing rates increase, unless they get a nerf from somewhere. In second spot, surprise to no one, it's Wolf Scouts with a 56/57% win rate and an extreme placing rate of 21.23%, and a huge player base picking them up here as well with 843 games played. So I don't really have too much more to say on Wolf Scouts than I've said in previous episodes. but I guess the main thing is for me is that they remain overperforming. They remain particularly, I think, good into the current meta, and they are very problematic for certain teams to deal with because of the fact they have so much 4/5 across the team, and they are just so durable and so reliable with their ability to be able to deliver that damage, which is really, really impactful. Sneaking to third spot though is Inquisition with a 59% win rate and a 21% placing rate. Now this is a small player base essentially, so there's only 115 games, so you can get quite a lot of warping here. With if you have a particularly good player that's maybe played a lot of events, you can get a quite sizable change in win percentage by that player being part of that population pool essentially. Whereas when you're looking more towards 800 events, individual players have much less of an effect. But I think this pretty much stands true for my opinion. I think Inquisition are a good team. I think they have consistently been a good team. And I think now we're starting to see some of these other teams receiving nerfs, Inquisition are going to be able to start progressing further and further forwards. I think they're kind of like an evergreen good team in my opinion, because they have so many tools that they can constantly adapt to the meta and be able to adjust what they need to be able to do. In fourth place is Wreckers with a 54% win rate and a 13.8% placing rate. Hugely popular as well, almost as popular as Wolf Scouts. So one to be aware of. They're out there and they're doing a lot of work. When I play against this team, like each time I play against this team, I'm impressed by just how much they do, how reliable they are. Assuming you could start the Wrecker train, essentially. Once the engine's going, it's really going. And I think this is one of the teams that is enjoying this meta. That is there's a prevalence of elites, and I've been doing something like deep thinking about why Wreckers are so good, right? And part of it is the fact they have so much high damage, so they're able to just delete models like you wouldn't expect to be able to happen. That's because the way their Wrecker points work, they can essentially spend them straight away, so they get this like massive spike. It's kind of like a weird punishing where it's like triple punishing essentially. It can be, which if you've used punishing, you know how good that is. Well, triple punishing is really, really good. So they can do the damage is the first point that I was going to make. However, I think actually what makes Wreckers so punishing into a lot of the elite matchups is how difficult they can be to score tac ops against. Because they out-activate you, and they're so killy, it's really hard for you to be able to do something like Plant Banner. It's really hard to be able to do something like, Dominate, because they're very, very durable. And because they're durable and they're killy, it's unlikely that you're going to kill 6 of them to be able to score the points for Dominate or for Rout. It's unlikely you're going to kill one in a single activation, and therefore they live, but they will kill you back. So you're sort of forced into like a very difficult matchup when it comes to how you can score with tac ops against this team, and that I think means that they overperform against elites really, really well. In fifth place, Chaos Cult with a 54.3% win rate and a 24% placing rate. Again, same as Inquisition, similar issue, right? Not too many games, only 174 games, so not a huge amount of data to be able to go off of. But these Horde teams are starting to perform particularly well, and that's something that I think is really worthy of note. Is that we're starting to see a resurgence in the strength of Horde teams, because although they take up the top 5, we also see Breachers coming in. Again, not a huge player base. We're at 149 games, but a pretty strong win rate with sort of 53% and a 21% placing rate. I think they're in a good spot. And Farstalkers, which we'll talk about again in a bit, with a 51% win rate and a 17% placing rate. Now, these are not popular teams. However, when piloted well, we're starting to see these Horde teams performing really, really effectively. So I think it's worth to note that, like, although people will say we're an elite meta, it's worth to note that means that elites are popular, and the top 2 teams for sure are elite teams. However, I would 100% expect those to be nerfed in the next data slate, and therefore, what's coming next, if you're trying to look to what's the shifting sands as such, I think is going to be very much an opportunity for the resurgence of hordes potentially. So it's, I might be wrong, but we're currently in this elite meta where there's a lot of elites doing very well, or some elites doing very well. I think we're about to go into the horde meta. I might be wrong, but that's just my early prediction. So that's the overperforming team. So Murdering Wolf Scouts, no surprises there. Inquisition Wreckers and Chaos Cult taking up those top spots. Mandrake's dropping down into 6th there, so coming a little bit out of favour in comparison to the other front runners. But interesting to see. Now, if we scroll down, look at the bottom of the league, the bottom 5 teams. We first have Salvagers. So Salvagers, again, not being particularly popular, right? So you only 111 games played with them, so not massively popular. A 33% win rate and only a 6% placing rate, which is really not particularly that exciting. I'm very surprised to see it quite so low. I've been talking to Bart. He's a big time Salvagers fan, right? He's currently on Celestians, so I think that's is part of it. Is that I think a lot of good players aren't playing this team, so you're seeing a quite significant reduction in their performance. And I don't know. So I don't know what this team needs. Other than I think it needs to become more appealing for people to jump onto it. So I think it has the tools, and I think good players, if they pick this team up, could do well with it. But it's difficult to play because it's a 5-inch movement team, and therefore it needs to be able to be a bit more flexible, right? So in this instance, this does sound crazy, but what if the leader was 3 APL? I think it would just be much more interesting because like Kazakh can get a 3 APL leader, and they're humans, and I think maybe Salvagers and Yaegers could have that, and I think that might be actually quite cool, and I think maybe that would give a bit more of a cool vibe to how the team plays and make your leader feel a bit more impactful. It'd probably help with the direct contesting against elites. Is that a pattern that we necessarily want to set across the game? I don't know. That's a good question, but I think maybe if you saw Salvagers, Yaegers, Exaction, if they start going to 3 APL leaders, is that going to break the game? What's people's thoughts on that? I don't think it works for every team, but I think it does work for some teams where that might be a bit more interesting. I mean, Brood Brothers kind of already have that with the leaders that they buy in. I know you don't necessarily have to take them, but I think you are going to take them. But I don't know. Aquilans, their leaders is 3 APL. I don't think it would break the game, but it might make those teams a lot more fun to play. So, what's people's thoughts? Should the leaders be 3 APL on your Salvagers, your Yaegers, or is that crazy talk? Is that going to make them stratospherically good, and we're all just going to see that the top 5 is all these teams with 3 APL leaders? But I just think it would make it more interesting for holding objectives, contesting objectives, being able to move, dash, shoot, being able to charge, fight, shoot. Gives you a bit more double kill potential. It would make it more interesting for me. Because one of the reasons why I like playing elites is because of the explosiveness of the team, right? I like being able to get out there and do stuff. And I think maybe that's an option to be able to give that to this team. In these second to worst performing team, Hierotech Circle, all the way down in 31st place with a 39% win rate and a 4.88% placing rate, 140 games played. So again, not particularly popular and not doing particularly well. Now this is a somewhat common trend. And we'll come on to player wins in a second, that often the teams that are doing worse aren't very popular, and actually the teams that are doing better, when you look at how many people play them, genuinely seem to be played a bit more, but maybe that's just me. But Hierotech not doing too well, and I'm not getting too sure why. I'm assuming it's because if you were to compare, if you're a Necron player and you have a choice between Hierotech and Canoptech, I'm assuming most Necron players think, well, Canoptech's just a better Necrons right now, so they're going to play Canoptech, and that kind of makes sense. So I imagine that's probably why a lot of these Hierotech players are instead playing Canoptech, hence why they're not doing so well. So you have a sort of few diehard fans, but not too many people playing them. Next up, Plague Marines. So just like scraping just below a 40% win rate and below a 5% placing rate with 380 games played. Now, Blade Marines. Being a slow, durable elite, I think, is really tough in such a fast and killy meta. Is probably like the way I'd sell it. And I think the way security tac-ops work and seek and destroy tac-ops work means that they can have often really tough matchups where they just don't know what to score or how to score effectively. And I think that might be Plague Marine issues. I think it might be a tac-ops problem. Because like previously they were doing really well, right? Before they approved ops change, they were doing pretty well. And they were still slow then, they were still durable then, they were still just as killy as they were before. But they were doing well. And now they're not. And that must be because they're not scoring very well. And therefore, it's either the way the crit ops work or it's the way that the new tac ops work. I mean, they're not doing very well. I think it's probably the tac ops being an issue, combined with what else is in the meta. However, what would you do to solve that is probably an interesting question. I think the fact they have very little ranged output in comparison to the other elite teams is something that's easily solved with some bolt pistols. I don't think it breaks the team. I think it just gives them the opportunity to have some double kill potential without being in melee range and that sort of stuff. And I think maybe they need some more ways to hand out poison tokens a little bit easier. But we'll see with that one. But what's your guys' thoughts on like Plague Marine fixes? Like, is there an easy solution that sort of keeps them in that sort of slow, durable mentality, but gives them access to a bit more? I think the fact that they, like, I don't know, it's the ceaseless when they're attacking. If they only move 3 inches, should that be just a reposition instead? If they don't move more than their move stat, would that help them be able to push forwards a bit further without becoming too oppressive? I mean, I don't think ceaseless is going to be like too ridiculous. So I think maybe that would work, and then they can become a bit more like, yeah, if you don't move more than your move stat, then you're able to get ceaseless. Might be a good trade-off as well to increase their reliability, but I'm not sure if reliability is necessarily the issue for the team. Taking the 29th spot is Scouts, 41% win rate, 4% placing rate. Again, not particularly popular, only 135 games played. Just kind of struggling a little. Their buffs, I guess, haven't been realised to have been enough to entice players in, which is like a sad situation to be in. It's like, yeah, you guys got buffs, but like it hasn't excited people enough to be able to get them to go, yes, I'm going to put them on the tabletop. So I don't know what this team needs. I would like to give them piercing shotguns, because you might like not piercing shotguns, equipment that lets you choose piercing ammo once or twice at a certain point. I think would be cool, but does that become like too much for the team? I don't know. And then like, do you just make it so they're easier to play? Do you make it so that their leader can hand out the APL buff to anyone on the board? They now have 2 APL buffs as a strat phase APL buff, so you can kind of stack it so that you can have on TP2 like 3 APL buffed models, which is quite nice. So is that sufficient? I don't know, because that's on 20.2 and now 20.3, which is quite nice. I don't know. What do they need? What do they need? I really want to put them on the tabletop because I think they could be good fun. But I think they're also maybe going to struggle into some of the power armored guys that you just don't quite have the oomph to be able to get through with your shotguns. And in 28th place is Battleclade with a 39% win rate but a 9% placing rate. So doing better in their placing. So this essentially to me says that good players are able to make it work slightly better, but overall they're pretty weak. Only 138 games played as well. I think this team kind of needs like not a full rework, but there's a really interesting comment saying about how difficult it is to balance this team with how network counteract works, because they have so much potential for shooting. You need to be like careful, like what you give this team, and I do get that. Like it is definitely a challenge when it comes to what this team can do. But I'm just trying to think, whenever I look at these sort of teams, like what would, like how could you get this team to be where it needs to be? I think they have a durability issue first and foremost. I think they just struggle to live, right? Like if you're playing against like mandrakes, or you're playing against any sort of like you're playing against wolf scouts, or you're playing against blades of Cain or something like this, I just think you just die so easily. And they're able to charge you from so far away, and your damage reduction is swingy at best, and then like it doesn't necessarily save you unless you roll really well. So with so much 4/4 damage or 4/5 damage out there, I think the servitors die too easily, and you're hoping on 5-ups. And I just don't think that's good enough for them to be able to hold it in when they're not necessarily like doing enough with each of their activations, maybe. So complicated team to play, not necessarily durable enough to be able to set up the network counteract in a way that works, because essentially you're trying to move up, then shoot with someone, then shoot again with someone else. So but the way that the power cells have changed means that you can now shoot during your own activation and transfer power to someone else. So maybe there's something there as well. So I don't know. But not performing too well. Okay, that's kind of the top performers, worst performers, and just we have a quick look through, see if there's anything that particularly stands out. Hand of the Archon going with a sort of 54% win rate, so getting up there, but only a 11% placing rate. Celestians, a sort of bang average with a 49.89 and a 12.5%. So they are doing exactly kind of what you would want a team to do, so that they've landed pretty mid of the pack. Canoptek going down to 48% win rate and a 13% placing rate. I think they're now essentially good as far as stats are concerned. Having played against them though, they're so durable. Like the big guys are just too tough. So like you shoot them and they don't die, and they heal too much, and it means that you don't score anything on kill up, which isn't fun. So you should be able to score kill up against a team, and that's with the guys that you can kill all being expendable. The big guys being so durable, it's not a great combo. So yeah, but they are doing much more reasonable than they were previously. That's pretty much it for like the big stand out stuff to note. I will just point out my boys in black down to a 44.5% win rate and a 8% placing rate. Sad to see. Out of interest when it comes to popularity of teams, so if you're thinking about what you want to practice against, if you're looking to go to an event, Plague Marines are popular, Stealth Suits are popular, Deathwatch remain popular, Canoptek remain popular, Angels of Death popular, Celestiants, Nemesis Claw, Raveners, Mandrakes, Wreckers, Wolf Scouts and Murderwing are your most likely opponents that you're going to face in the global meta. Now note that might change in your local meta, but that's something that's worth looking at in the global. Cool. So I want to talk about some particularly cool off-meta picks that people have, and just do some matchup analysis into it. So as I said, I went to the Goonhammer Open, which you can see people placing here. One of my opponents was Callan Day rocking his Hernkyn Yaegir, and that's how I got the draw here. And I thought it was just worth saying, pretty cool for someone to take a off-meta team and perform well with them. And then I thought, hey, it might be worth while having a quick look at the stats and see who they're performing well against and who they're performing poorly against, and have a think as to why that might be. Now, some of this is a little bit of a low data amount, so you've got to be careful when you look at this that you don't get too carried away with it. But you can probably start to analyse where teams are going right or where teams are going wrong. So 44% win rate, so not doing particularly crazy high win rate, neither on the placing rates. They're not doing well, and let's try and do some analysis as to why we think that is. So what are they doing well against? They're doing well against other salvages, only one game, breaches, sure, only one game. Canoptech they're doing well against with an 83% win rate. That's pretty cool to see. So for whatever reason, they're able to interact quite well against Canoptech. Now, I don't know if that's because they can do the infiltrate, plant devices, or they're able to just not die particularly well to them. I'm not sure, but there's definitely some spice there when it comes to their ability to interact with Canoptech, winning 5 out of 6 games. They're also doing well against Felgor. Now, I think that's probably because of the way that if you try to charge and kill a Yaegir with the damage reduction that they have, and the fact they have the plasma knives, and if they're on their token, they're able to do so much damage. So they're doing quite well there. So I think if you try to melee them generically, they do a lot of damage on the way out. Against Aquilans are doing well, Nemesis Claw doing well. This one I do find surprising, but not entirely, because again, a lot of Nemesis Claw damage comes from essentially, in my opinion, melee. So if you can't do the standard thing of Nemesis Claw where you want to just hide in combat with these guys, and if you try to charge these guys and there's someone on conceal who can see you as a valid target, note that these guys can't charge on conceal as far as I'm aware, and therefore you're getting shot by like a piercing 1 sniper or a rocket launcher, this sort of stuff, or you're getting a knife thrown in your face that's silent, and that can be really difficult for you to be able to get around. So worth noting there that the Nemesis Claw aren't enjoying this particular matchup. And neither are Madrix, Celestiants, or Goremongers. Again, I think mainly for the reasons that I talked about. And the Mandrakes one I am interested in because don't get me wrong, it's 3 wins and 2 losses. It's not a huge data to be able to go off of. But again, with Mandrakes being able to charge and conceal, I feel like they have a way to be able to get around the sort of the shoot you as you go in. Have what they can't get around is going against someone who's lethal 5 and with damage reduction, meaning that you often hit for essentially 7 damage and don't kill, which if you're charging and not killing and then taking maybe 5 damage yourself, leaves you in a pretty vulnerable place as Mandrakes, that you then might get killed in your next activation. So anyway, that's what they're doing well against. But what are they doing poorly against? Let's see if we can see any themes here. Scouts, Kazakhin, Inquisition, Angels of Death. There's a lot of games and only an 18% win rate. So doing pretty poorly against Angels of Death. They're doing very poorly against Murderwing as well. 20% win rate against Murderwing. They're not doing great against Ratlings, Stealth Suits, Battleclade, or Wolf Scouts, or Deathwatch, or Plague Marines. So and probably how I would like try and look at this as a broad spectrum of issues. I don't think they're doing great against most elite teams. So Angels of Death, Murderwing, like Stealth Suits with their sort of like armor says, not really elite, but kind of elite. Wolf Scouts, yeah, definitely, and Deathwatch and Plague Marines, yeah. So interestingly, they can beat your Nemesis Claw, but they're struggling against the rest. And I think for me, that's where and when I play, that's kind of how it felt. Is that I think they struggle to chew through the armor with shotguns and that sort of stuff. So you're sort of reliant on can you get into melee and fight them there. And teams like Angels of Death, with the ability to say you can only get crits if you roll natural 6s, can be really, really mean to some of their guys if they try to charge you and retain crits through their Kinband or through their rending or through their lethal 5 or anything like that. And it's like, nope, you're actually not going to get any crits. You're just going to get the ones that you roll naturally with 6s, which can be pretty brutal. So Murderwing, well, you know probably why I think they do well into that matchup. And Wolf Scouts, having a whole bunch of plasma pistols and 4-5 lethal 5 melee and being able to charge and conceal is a great set of combos to be able to deal with these guys. So all in all, it looks like to me that the team's doing okay in some of the melee matchups, but poor into elites that can shoot them, and other generic shooting teams, in my opinion. So that was a bit of a Yaegir look, but I just wanted to focus on teams that people are taking that are not necessarily the standard go-to picks, but doing well with them. Clearly, it's worth talking about the big winner, in my opinion, from Goonhammer Open, the Farstalker Kinband, piloted by Guy Barton. Let's have a quick deep dive and have a look at them as well. So only a 50.89% win rate, so not doing too crazy. But what are they doing well against? What are they doing badly against? So in this sort of like good win section, we've got Cults, Salvagers, Hierotek, Inquisition, Kazakins, Sanctifiers, Battleclade, Goremongers, Stealth Suits, Angels of Death. They're doing very well against here. 60% win rate with 14 games. Pretty good. They're doing well against Vespid. They're doing well against Wreckers. These are popular teams. Doing well against Deathwatch. Doing well against Murderwing. Now that's big to see. Blades of Cain, Felgor, Yaegirs, Plague Marines. They're doing pretty well against all of these. What are they doing poorly against? Nemesis Claw, Celestiants, Wolf Scouts, Breaches, Raveners, Exaction, and Scouts. Now, what are my initial gut reaction to this? They seem to be doing well against most sort of your shooting teams, and interesting to see Chaos Cult on there as well. They're doing well against all of these, but they're not doing well against Wolf Scouts, and they're not doing well against Celestiants, probably because they can't kill the Celestiants, and they're not doing well against Nemesis Claw. So I think maybe these guys are just either too durable or too killy melee to be able to deal with. I know Wolf Scouts have particularly, in my opinion, good matchup into them. Being able to turn off their piercing, being able to ignore their shock and their APL mods is pretty cool. And the fact that Wolf Scouts are all essentially 4/5 damage means that they can kill Kroot very, very easily, and Kroot can't necessarily kill them as easily back. So if you're always getting 2 hit, then you're in a difficult situation. That's kind of how it felt in my game. Was I have damage reduction in melee, and I'm able to kill you or double kill really, really effectively with the Wolf Scout models. So struggling with those. So I think struggling with, is it damage reduction in general? Looks like it. They don't like Canoptech too much. Plague Marines is 50%, but Nemesis Claw doesn't have damage reduction, but they are pretty good in melee. Raveners is just tough because that's just a big amount of wounds, and I guess maybe they're not able to get the combos against them that they want to be able to do because they're sort of reliant on trying to hit people with multiple things. And they're doing well though against the Deathwatch, the Wreckers, Angels of Death. That's interesting, isn't it? They're doing well against Angels of Death, but not doing well against, say, like Wolf Scouts or Nemesis Claw. And I would have thought it would have been a similar game. No, actually, I know why. So Angels of Death, they are Seek and Destroy, and they are security. So you can't play Plant Banner because they will just poach it. And if you're playing Seek and Destroy, you have to probably go Dominate. So you're locked into Dominate with Angels of Death. Whereas Nemesis Claw can play they can play sort of Steel Intelligence, and Steel Intelligence most people seem to max most of the time, so they have a very good tack up option here. And Wolf Scouts can either do depending upon map, they can do either, and I guess they're just a bit more durable when it comes to melee, whereas these guys will just get punched down. Same with Deathwatch. I don't really know how Deathwatch is going to do too well into this matchup now, because now that they're doing 3/5 and they can double resolve, I don't know, it's going to be a tough one. If you can get over and get yourself wholly in their territory to then be charged by loads of people and chewed up, then maybe you can get a damage reduction off, but a lot of the damage is kind of irrelevant to that. So you're going to have to push forward a long way to be able to then reduce the crits but you can't reduce crits now. It's only on normal damage, and the damage is 3-5. So your damage reduction does nothing in this matchup, I think. So all the crit damage just is going to tear through you, which is pretty grim for the Deathwatch. Interesting to look at. So crit overall pretty average win rate, but they're doing badly into Wolf Scouts and Murderwing. Murderwing they're doing well into, aren't they? Sorry, Wolf Scouts and Nemesis Claw and the Celestiants and Raveners and that sort of stuff, but doing much better into some of these elite matchups. So a lot of people who say that Kroot can't kill, I don't think it's true. They just can't kill some elites. They can kill others very effectively. So if you're an Angel of Death player, Kroot are very effective at killing you. If you're a Deathwatch player, they seem to be very effective at killing you, or a Murderwing player. So just want to be aware of, like, I think Kroot kill now. They're not as weak as they used to be. Be aware of that, and like it's happening. Kroot meta is here. Okay, so let's talk about the tactical tip. So we'll finish up there. That is the global meta-analysis with a talk about stats and some faction focuses on Kroot and Hernkyn Yaegis. Again, a massive thank you to Smiles, Lions and Gunfire, who puts together all of the stats here on Pretentious Plastic Ops, which you can visit by going to pretentiousplastic.ops.com and checking out the page. You can buy them a coffee through this link here and support, which is an awesome thing to do because it's a fantastic resource, and I really do encourage everyone checking it out to support Smiles, Lions and Gunfire for the amazing work that they do. So thank you for that. Now, tactical tip. So I give this out as a freebie, and all I ask is that if you are a subscriber to the channel, this is for you. If you're not a subscriber to the channel, please do consider subscribing, as it's a subscriber benefit. And if not, then you don't have to listen. You can do your own thing now. Sure. All right. So the subscriber benefit, also the tactical tip for this one, is learn how to analyze your games and try and figure out how to improve better next time. And I'm going to try and do it in real time to show you how I would go through some of these games that I didn't do quite so well in, and explain, hopefully, how to improve in future. So I had a draw and a loss, and I want to try and focus on those because they're good examples, and hopefully it's going to make sense. So tactical tip is learn how to review your games accurately and improve. So the draw. So I played against Callum Day with his Hernkyn Yaegers. We both got a score of 12. We were playing on Orb. We were playing on the WTC Bandura terrain. I was obviously on Wolf Scouts. I had taken Retrieval, and he had taken Plant Devices. And that was pretty much it for setting the scene, I guess. So why was the score so close is the sort of the first thing that you want to answer. So where could I have got points differential from is probably the first thing. So he took Plant Devices, which I believe he maxed. No, he got 2, 1, 1, 4. He got 4, and he got 2 on his on his primary up for it as well, I think. Or it might have done quite up. But either way, he got a good amount of points for it. Why was that? Well, that's because I gave him the free plant on my home objective at the start of TP2 when I didn't necessarily need to. So immediately, the score could have been probably 3 VP less for Callum had I positioned my leader in a smarter position to stop a plant immediately on TP2. Or he would have been forced into doing a GA2 play to be able to have done that, and then that would have been a massive commitment of resources and a potential double kill for me to be able to get more kills. So that's the first mistake of many. The next one is I did not max my tack up because I did not retrieve on my opponent's home objective. Why did I not retrieve my opponent's home objective? Well, because I instead tried to keep my guy healthy, and I thought I'd be able to heal more and stay alive with my my dude. That then meant that Callum went 3 APL, tapped the objective, and or had a guy on there that was 3 APL, which then meant that I couldn't retrieve it later on because I was prioritising other things. That meant I didn't get my retrieval token, which then meant that I fell behind on my primary op. So both of those things combined means that I lose a VP for not retrieving and a VP for my primary op. That's a 2 VP swing, and that would have meant that I could have gone up to 14 points and Callum would have stayed at 12 points. So that's my second mistake. My third mistake is underestimating just how killy the guy with the 2 pistols is, the bombast, because I didn't really do the maths on how likely it was for me to be able to for him to be able to kill people. Because that guy can move, dash, shoot you once at the end of the turning point, in the strat phase, shoot you again, and then if they win initiative, shoot you again or shoot other people. And that guy was essentially killing multiple Marines, or killed multiple Marines in quick succession, because he killed someone in the turning point 2 and then killed someone at the beginning of turning point 3, and that wasn't something that I was ready for. So I took loads of damage from that one operative, and that I wasn't expecting. So that then gave away some kill up points, and it gave away my ability to then, as I said, take that objective. If I'd known that they would be that killy, I should have prioritised, rather than doing the heal on myself, I should have prioritised instead taking that objective, because my guy wasn't going to be survivable. I would have known that if I'd done the maths and said, this guy shooting me twice or maybe even 3 times if he wins initiative is going to kill me, and therefore I should not have taken it. That, again, is about a 2-point swing. Next up, I made a mistake with my sorcerer, my psycho dude, who essentially I went to try. So I did a reposition. I did a double shoot action into a warrior, one with the 5 attack blast or torrent. 5 attack torrent, followed by the bolt pistol. The warrior didn't die. On my counteract, I had the option to either return to conceal and make myself obscured, or go for the kill. The guy was on like 2 wounds remaining. I opted to go for the kill, which I got. However, the next turning point, I then lost that my psyker, because the sniper was able to roll 2 crits, 2 hits, and essentially dome him with mortal wounds, because I wasn't A, obscured, or B, concealed and in cover, and therefore I made that mistake, which then meant that I didn't have enough models to be able to push onto the objectives, take more crit up points and that sort of stuff. So that was again a kill up swing, that was again a primary up swing, which lost me about 2 VP. So those are a bunch of ways that meant that I got this draw. The only reason that Callum didn't win is because his negotiator pistol dude, after killing I think it was 3 Marines, failed to kill the leader in the strat phase when he shot him. So that's how close it came to, because if he had killed him in the strat phase when he activated in the firefight phase, he then could have killed my leader. Because he didn't, my leader stayed alive. He couldn't kill him again, and I got my retrieval points and that sort of stuff, and he lost a kill up point. That's how close the game was. However, if you take it back and you analyse each of those bits, you can figure out where you could have made more points differentials, where you could have then changed things, and how you could have made it better for next time. So there's an element of this which is like, yeah, sure, with perfect 20/20 hindsight, you can make all these right decisions. However, a very easy decision right at the start of the game would have been, okay, who am I playing against? Yaegirs. What attack ops do you have? Seek and destroy and infiltration. Cool. How can I make sure that I deny the most amount of attack ups available to you early on? And the one that you should be most worried about is that plant devices. Okay, I can make sure that I deny that plant device on turning point 2 just by positioning my leader somewhere on turning point 1. He's very durable. I can protect him with the wolf, so if you then move up and try and kill him, I can strat phase charge you or that sort of thing, and I can potentially get kills. So that on its own, that one decision would have potentially got me the win had I done that, and that's like a good way of doing the analysis of games, in my opinion. you can go through and look at each of the points where you've lost models or failed to kill models or you've lost VP and try and figure out what decision you could have made to make it better next time. And so for next time, I know if I'm playing against Jaegers, consider that tack up option and consider, okay, who's the best person to be able to defend my home objective and make it really hard for my opponent to be able to commit to it, or make it so that they have to commit too much resource that I can then really, really punish them. And a combination of the wolf and the leader is probably a good two to be able to make it really hard for them to be able to do that. So that was that game, and that's a example analysis of how it went wrong. Next up, my 9-point loss against Bart, who scored 15. This was on Volcus. I forget the map number, but it is essentially it's a longboard edge, and it's the one where on the left hand side on Volcus, your opponent can sort of take the entire stronghold, and the objective is hidden within the stronghold behind the door. Bart won the side selection. He put his Abjura behind that door, inspired, damage reduction, fight first, double parry, severe. It's a pretty nasty combo, and I hadn't thought about that, or I hadn't thought about in the pre-game what my team could do to be able to deny that model or kill that model in that instance. And so essentially, I ended up leaving it, giving away that side, but I was out of place. I made some placement errors with my plasma gunner, which I'll come into in a second, but I didn't have a solution. Now, since then, I've thought about it, reflected on it, crunched the numbers, and then the car journey home, I was like, okay, what could I have done? Like, how do I solve that problem set again in the future? Because it's going to happen again, right? How do you solve someone being really durable in melee, hiding behind that door, who can parry, fight first, parry twice, all that sort of stuff? Now, Wolf Scouts do actually have an answer to that, right? They have the leader. He's lethal 5 or lethal 4 if you give him the equipment. He's lethal 4. He has damage reduction. He can die once for free, essentially, and then come back to life. And with Storm's Bite, you can make that melee operative only 3 attacks. That is significant. If she's only 3 attacks, you're likely to be able to parry out and inflict damage. And over the course of 2 fights, you'll then be able to kill her, the Abjura, that is, on that doorway, even though she fights first with a parry twice, inspired, and all that sort of stuff. Now, if you can kill the Abjura on that doorway, you're then in the position where you can get other models to be able to get through. And that then gives me access, because again, I went retrieval in that instance, which I think was probably a mistake. Well, I don't actually know what I could have gone otherwise. I don't think actually the tack up choice was a mistake. I think the mistake was not having a plan to be able to get to the third objective to be able to enable the tack up, in my opinion. So in that instance, I can then put pressure onto the objective and then be able to get in. It was transmission, so the fact that if I then did that, I could then potentially commit to it and reduce Bart's ability to score points on crit up and his ability to just hide and stage behind it. He was playing Envoy as well, so he was able to then use that castle really effectively, because I wasn't able to then stop it, and that would have given me an option to solve it. My game plan initially to solve it was to try and run a model around the back, my plasma gunner, but I just didn't have the movement potential. The way that he was placed wasn't going to be able to work out, and I hadn't calculated that until I'd already started committing this model, which then meant my plasma gunner was out of place and able to be killed. And that's kind of where it started to fall down, in my opinion. So, point being is I had a problem during that game where I was like, I don't know how to solve this, and I then went away and thought about it, and I was like, let's crunch some numbers and do that sort of stuff. Because when I first thought about it, I assumed the numbers would be really terrible, but it was like a question of, what if you reduce their attacks by 1? And like in the car home, Simon was talking to me about it. It's like, what if you did that? And then we crunched the numbers, and I'm like, actually, if you do 2 sets of fights, it's like a 60% chance that it's going to be okay. So that again is just some analysis tools to be able to figure out why something went wrong, and then start thinking about how you potentially solve it using Killteam calculators, using your sort of analysis to be able to get through and help it. Hopefully that's useful. That's a long subscriber tip. The main thing I'm trying to get at is when you lose a game, think about it. Have a hot reflection at the tabletop. Get the feedback from your opponent. They'll tell you why they thought you did well, what you thought you did badly. then take it away, do a cold reflection, and think, okay, now based on that information, where did I lose points? Where could I have gained points? And how do I change that points differential in future? Because I needed to get a 6 points difference, so I needed to get more points on my tack op. I needed to deny BART points. I needed to get more kill up points. I needed to get more primary points, and those are the main things that I sort of failed to do in that game. Hopefully that makes sense. Cool. So that was the tactical tip with a bit of analysis of some of the games from Goonhammer. And now we're going to go into the Patreon priority questions. So as you don't know, I have a Patreon. You can join it for £3 a month. It has access to the Patreon Discord server, and you can also ask questions direct to me, which is the Patreon priority questions. I'll answer them on the show once a week, and I'll just pick one of those questions that are in the list, and I'll go ahead and answer it. Yeah, cool. So let's get started with that then. So the Patreon priority question this week is we're starting to see some high-profile entries into the space. By space, it means I think sort of a tabletop gaming space with StarCraft, TMG, and Gundam Assemble. Do you think now is the time G-Dubs looks at how they deliver content, i.e. faster balance changes, workable apps, and increased prize support? So, yes and no is my answer to this, and I'm going to explain why. So, let's talk about workable apps. I think GW has done a bit of an experiment with Killteam this time around with this edition by delivering free rules on the app, and I think it has been a massive win for the game because now people are able to get access to the rules. They're able to, read their own leisure. They're able to see what teams they want to do, what they want to play, get proxies easier, do all that sort of stuff, and just commit to the game. And that has been a massive, massive, massive benefit. And I cannot understate, in my opinion, how good I think the app is because of those reasons. Could it be better though? 100%. Yes. Please, give us the core rules, right? They want Killteam to be a beginner-friendly game. They want to get people involved. The best way to be able to do that is to be able to have rules in an app available to hand and be able to do it. And then let it have a keyword search, just like the 40k app, so you can actually search the keywords and go with that. Now, if they gave Killteam that, I think it's going to be a massive win because I want to take the minimum amount of stuff I can to a tournament, and I want to have it as condensed as possible. And if I can have an app which has got the references in it, and I can quickly just search obscurity or whatever, or I can search jumping, and it comes up with the latest FAQ or the latest stuff about obscurity, and it gives me the rules and all that sort of stuff right there and then, and it's constantly refreshed and updated because it will take the immediate responses that when they change a rule, they add an FAQ or a designer commentary, it can be right next to it. I think the game will just become so much more accessible for people, and I think we've started on that path now, and I think that's definitely the way that GW's got to go. It's in big 40k you have to pay for the codexes, but I believe the core rules are all free. We have it the other way around. I think we should definitely have core rules for free in Killteam. It would just help get players into the game. It will help with any rules debates on the day or anything like that, because you have to try and find someone who's got a book. It will help TOs out, all that sort of stuff. So yes, the app should 100% be changed. Increased price support. I think this would be good. And I can't really debate. I mean, obviously free price support. Obviously, it's going to be good, right? But GW is a huge company, and they're making a lot of money. And I think they can definitely afford to have a bit more prize support for both the community and for the big events, right? So, and to be fair to them, they've done stuff that they haven't done previously. So they send out physical golden tickets now, so to be able to hand out, which is pretty cool. I know they give some stores the organised play packs, which is pretty cool. But there's definitely more I think they could do, and I think that's something that they could consider. Is how can they make it so that they promote more about what they want for the game, and I think there's they could send out painting packs to people. They could send out for best painted, best overall, whatever. They could try and get a few more little trinkets that are related to the games. I think would be a good way of doing it. and do those sorts of things. So I think increased price support would be good to see. I would like to see, if I'm honest, like a little bit more support to maybe getting people out to the World Championships. I think that'd be cool. But it's a fine line, because whenever you put money on the line or you increase the prize support for events, people are more likely to start taking it more seriously. And the more serious that people take it, you have the risk of like that win at all costs mentality sort of creeping in. And I think that I like the fact that Killteam is a bit more casual in nature, and people are having more fun with the game in general. And I'd be worried about trying to incentivize that happening too much. If it became big winnings, then that could be a risk. However, do I think that like GW should probably stream games and that sort of stuff? Like, I absolutely think that they should. They have a huge like ability to be able to do so. I think that'd be really cool. I think they could do things like, if you win an event, you get potentially exclusive access to a day with the designers or something like that, and those sorts of things. Or you get to come to Warhammer World and play in a special event that's whatever, right? Like things that are not that's going to foster the right culture and attitude, I think would be cool prize support. Like a behind the scenes tour of Games Workshop, I think would be cool, as opposed to like monetary prizes, if that makes sense. And then finally on the faster balance changes. So this is something that I understand why people would want faster balance changes, but I'm not sure if it will be good or bad. So currently we get a change every quarter. And I think that might be quite a good pacing, because it depends how much Killteam you play. I play quite a lot of Killteam, so I'm one of those people where if there was a change every month, I might have a tournament monthly, or often more than monthly. I'll go to tournaments, and therefore I could be getting 20 games in before a balance. Like each month before a balance change, something like that. Now, if you're playing like 20 games a month, that's great. However, if you're playing like 10 games a month, or you're playing 5 games a month, or you're playing like 3 games a month, if it was changing that much, then your team is going to be fundamentally completely different each time you play a tournament. And I don't think that's like necessarily a good thing to have. Or if you're trying to learn about what other people do. But also, combined with that, it's like the hobby time. So the amount of time it takes for you to be able to paint and get a team on the table, you want to have a stable enough meta where when you say, okay, you know what, like I've just seen that change come up for that team, yeah, I want to be able to pick them up and play it. So that weekend you go and buy the team. The next weekend you build the team. The weekend after you paint the team, and then now you're in a position to start going to a tournaments. So maybe it's taken you a month to get them to the point where you're now ready to play them. Then you get 2 months of sort of like gaming time, and then the next change comes to be able to update where the team sits. I think that's pretty good pacing to be able to have. That being said, how could they do balance changes better, and how can what could be useful to help the transparency of balance changes? So I think announcing the dates of balance changes in advance would be useful for people. There's a chance that might put people off going to tournaments, but it would probably help tournament organisers figure out what they want to do. So rather than it being just like hey, we think it's going to be in like these 2 weeks, or hey, find out the next couple of weeks about this balance change when it comes on Warcom. I think there's like there could be a bit more. This update will come out in this week, and state that from a distance, right? Because then people will start planning towards it. It's like, okay, I now know when that event's going to be. I know when that date set's going to be, and therefore I can make decisions based upon it that things are going to change. And I also think that they should consider beta releasing rules. So And I know that that's going to be like somewhat problematic for people, but if you can release a beta set of rules, you can get a much wider testing like feedback, which I think would be really cool for people to be able to see. So I think it would also probably expose it to the community how much the game is being thought about, because like if you're constantly trying to do these testing games, that sort of stuff, I think it's probably fine to say, hey, there's available in the app, there's a tab which is like beta rules, and then a way that you can submit feedback, and it's like, you know, maybe it needs to be an automated form or something, but it's like, these are the beta rules that we're looking at. We're going to give Angels of Death another operative. Can you let us know that your feedback on how that plays? And then everyone going to say, hey, I played against 7 Angels of Death, and actually it turns out that was too strong, so I think that's a bad balance change. And you go, okay, cool, sweet, and it like they could then get the feedback from more people, because I don't know how big the playtesting base is, but it must be difficult to be able to get that many repetitions in when there's like 32 classified teams or something. Like that's a lot of different. Not off my mic. That's a lot of different things to think about. So giving that to the community means that you get more exposure quicker, and you might be able to get some good responses and be able to get some good data to be able to figure out where things sit. And I think that would be useful. So I don't necessarily want faster balance changes, but I think a more transparent, hey, this is when the balance changes are due, and this is what we're thinking for that balance change. These are the teams, or even if it's just that these are the teams that are currently being considered, so people then know, and like themes, and people can then comment what they think the issue is with that team. Be it this team is too strong, because it's too durable, it's too fast, it's too killy, whatever it is, and then they say, oh, you know, it's too hard to play, and then they go, oh, sweet, and they can then take that feedback and they can see where the community thinks things needs to go. And I think if you did that, you get more community engagement and more people being interested. I think all of that could be contained within a much better app, and I think for me the app should definitely have all the core rules with a keyword search, and like index and all that sort of stuff, so you can just go into the rules page, search something, good to go. And ideally it'd be really cool, like the same thing is true of the Warhammer 40k app, like the command bunker thing, where you have like a one page screen where you can click into all the data cards of your operatives and all the ploys and all the faction equipment just like really easily. We sort of have that, but I just think like if you could do that and set it up so you can have a combination of you and your opponent's team, and it's in like one dossier, whatever you want to call it, with those things, I think that'd be really cool. Maybe there'd be a way for there to store results as well. I think that those would be like, I think an app like that would be really good for GW. I think if they did that and they integrated those sorts of features, they could have some of those behind like a paywall. So you could have like a free section which is just rules and that sort of stuff, and you could have like the scorecard and the data storage of your previous games, and your own individual stats could be paywalled separately, and maybe you could link your BCP to it, and then suddenly you're now like in this, like GW can use that to collect data, and people can pay for a better, more serviceable product. I think that would be a good thing overall. Hopefully that answered the question. I think, yeah, I think there's definitely competition that's out there. I still think Killteam's a fantastic game. I still think there's loads of fun to be had with it. I think the lore's still great for GW and all that sort of stuff. But I think definitely tweaking how they have the app would be cool. Some prize support that's like non-monetary but like more interesting things. It promotes the wider hobby and what they want from it, from the community. I think would be really cool. And yeah, I don't actually want faster balance changes. I just want it to be more transparent about when those balance changes are happening, what's being considered, and give a feedback mechanism for the community to allow wider sort of beta testing. I think would be awesome to see. Sweet. That was the end of the Metawatch for the 16th of March. So hopefully you guys found that useful. I said a bit of a deep dive into some teams there. Talks about the UK meta talks about the overall global meta, some upcoming UK events. As I said, check out that talkify.com or pretentiousplasticops.com if you wanted to look at the stats. Gave the tactical tip about how to try and do some analysis of your games, and did analysis of 2 games that I did a draw and a loss to show you how potentially my decisions could be made better to be able to improve that. Remember, that's a subscribe benefit, so if you liked that, make sure you hit subscribe. And then finally, I gave an answer to a Patreon priority question. If you want to answer one of those, then just sign up to the Patreon, you can get access. One of the things that I will quickly promote at the end of this episode is I'm starting work on a masterclass series where I'm going to try and go from 0 to hero and go through each of the key steps that you need to do to improve your overall attitude to the game, how you get to a tournament prep, and then when you get to the tabletop, how you sequence through and do each of those. I'm going to try and do that as a sort of a Patreon competitive tier benefit, and might have access to it in other ways. So I'm going to try and figure out a way to do that. But that's like a background project that I'm starting to work on now, and I'm really going to try and do that 0 to hero path. So if you're interested in that, then let me know. It's something that's on the way, and it's something that I'm going to try and release over the next few months. That's it from me. I will see you all next week, hopefully. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, consider dropping a like, subscribe. Please do comment, let me know what you thought, and let me know what tournaments that you've got coming up and what you're going to take to it. With that said, I'll see you in the next one. Take it easy. That brings us to the end of the episode. Hopefully you found something new or useful while listening, and if you did, throwing us a like would be greatly appreciated. If you want to make sure you don't miss any episodes, make sure you hit that subscribe button and click on the bell so you get notifications as soon as the next one drops. It really is the best way to help a small channel like ours. And if you can't wait and you do want early access, we have a Patreon where you can get exclusive access to all our content ahead of time. As always, we'd love to hear your thoughts and feedback. Just drop a comment below and we'll get right to you. Thank you so much for listening. I'm your host Ryan, this has been Turning Point Tactics, and we'll see you next week.